As part of our research success project, we were asked to gather information about different research opportunities. We were encouraged to use resources such as ourselves, each other, the internet, or other students to help provide information about research opportunities in and outside of Georgia. We decided to put together this documentary talking about our personal research experiences. Some of us also interviewed various students and professionals on their experience. Let's first take a look at Priyanka's interview with Mr. Sunil.
Hi, so
Hello.
my name is Priyanka Joseph, and I'm going to be interviewing Sunil Kaimudal for my project on research success. So, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your field of study, your level of study, any research that you've done?
Yeah, sure. So currently I'm doing a dual master's in data science and risk management, but I come from a background in healthcare. So my bachelor's was in biochem, and a lot of the research I did was during that time. So yeah, I did a lot of healthcare biology type of related research in the past. So yeah.
Is there any research that stood out to you, research opportunity that you participated in that stood out to you in particular?
Yeah, so my goal at the time was trying to get into med school. So I was trying to focus on areas that could, that I actually had a lot of interest in, which was in, broadly speaking, biology, but how to improve the healthcare industry and from a more cellular, molecular level. So that's kind of what I focused on. The research topic I was in, I believe, was on something called vascular endothelial growth factors and how they promote different cytokines in the body. So yeah, I was really interested in that at the time.
Got it. And what made you choose the research opportunity that you participated in? Did you find any research posters, or like how did you get in touch with the, um, I guess, the head of the lab, or so to speak?
Yeah, so I was actually fortunate. The college I went to had a lot of opportunities where they connected students with the medical school and the biotech companies nearby. So I was fortunate in that sense. The college I went to really allowed me to network with those kind of people, and I found the right fit for me.
Nice. Good for you.
Thank you.
So was there any criteria that you had to meet to enter the research program?
Not really. In undergrad, I think they do recognize that students don't come in with a lot of background knowledge, but that are just willing to learn, willing to follow directions, and has a general interest in science. I think that's the gist of most labs in undergrad.
Right. Okay. And how would you rate your overall experience in the program?
Oh, it was amazing. I was fortunate to get a mentor that was really helpful, not just with that, but within how to proceed with my future job or future expectations and just where the direction I wanted to head in. And as a mentor, he was amazing. So it really, I lucked out in a lot of ways.
So, for any undergraduate students who don't have any research experience, your advice would be to just cold email?
Yeah, I mean, you have to throw yourself out there, and I mean, it's a little scary at times, but you have to try, and not everything's going to work out. But if you try enough, someone will reach out back to you, and opportunities are there. You just have to make the most of it when they come along, and the connections you make, you never know how far and how important they're going to be for the rest of your life. So make the most of your time and make a good impression whenever you're at a professional setting.
Absolutely. Do you have any additional advice for students who are interested in research?
Um, Besides what I said, not really. I genuinely believe that when you're in like these kind of research positions or any kind of professional position, everything you do, say, behave is it reflects who you are, and people make a mental note. People don't really think about that at the time. They try to fool around, whatever, but you're no longer a kid when you're in these kind of positions. You need to act like an adult, and it'll carry through. And you want these people to write a letter of recommendation for you, vouch for you in the future. So again, stand out, make sure that you make a real lasting impression for them. And yeah, it'll definitely help out in the long run.
Got it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Next, we'll listen to Tatinda share her research experience.
Hello, my name is Tatenda Nguke. I'm a freshman at Georgia State Perimeter College and a member of LSAMP Scholars. I participated in a research immersion program for high schoolers through UCSD Pre-College, or their Extended Studies Division. This was led by the Boz Institute located in San Diego, California, and our task was to evaluate toxicity within the Tijuana River estuary. This estuary is located on the US-Mexico border, and in the class, the researchers at the Institute collected samples, and we used the data that they collected to come to conclusions about toxicity within different parts of the estuary. I chose this program because it seemed interesting, and I wanted to see what it was like to do research and learn more about marine biology and about the local ecosystems around me, since at the time I lived in San Diego, California. The criteria for me to enter the program was that I was a junior or senior in high school. I also had to have an interest in learning about science and have a decent GPA as well. My overall experience in the program was positive. I enjoyed learning how to conduct different types of testing, even if I was not able to be in the lab at the time, since the immersion course was offered virtually. I also was selected to present in another presentation outside of the main classroom, and that was presented to professionals in the science field as well as people from the city near the Tijuana River estuary. I enjoyed this opportunity because I learned about interacting and collaborating with others to create a professional presentation, as well as conducting research as a junior in high school. I also would say that the program allowed me to develop an interest in research as a career and furthered my interest in pursuing a biology degree when I went to college. So my advice for students who would be interested in research is that they see what opportunities are available in the area around them. And if they aren't able to go to a lab, try to find virtual opportunities. Because although I wasn't there in the lab, I still learned a lot about different types of testing, like sediment elutriate testing, and like how sea urchin embryos can be used to find the toxicity in different areas, and like why that is, and how to identify abnormalities among those embryos to determine toxicity. I also would recommend participating in programs that you might not think you'd be super interested in, because you might still be able to learn things that'll be able to be applied later in your degree or whatever career you go into, or find a passion that you enjoy. That is all I have for my interview on research success, and good luck to anyone who is interested in pursuing research.
Tatinda also interviewed Miss Nusanov, who is a research scientist at WashU. Let's hear what she has to say.
So the first question that I have is, what is your field of study?
So my field of study, I mean, initially it was plasma physics, but I don't do much research in plasma physics now. I work more on some astrophysics theory work and gravitation experiments.
Oh, yeah. This sounds pretty cool. And what is your level of study?
Like what, how far did I go to school, or what my job?
So are you, well, you're a professor, right? So I guess that's.
I'm a research scientist.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I do research at the university, and before I came to the university, I was doing research at a national lab.
What made you choose the research opportunities that you participated in?
I actually don't really know how I ended up in plasma physics. I didn't know about plasma physics as a research area, but I liked very much the professor that taught the plasma physics classes that I took as a graduate student. And I think because of that influence of having a very good professor in a particular field, I sort of approached him to see if I could work in his lab. And then I just stayed. And then eventually I sort of have moved away from plasma physics because when I got a job here in St. Louis, there wasn't much of plasma physics. So I had to start looking for another field of research that seemed interesting. And then I ended up where I am now.
Okay, that's cool. And what can you define like what plasma physics is?
Also plasma physics, you were looking at, I don't know if you know the 3 states of matter, that matter can be a solid, it can be in a liquid, or it can be in a gas form. So if you were to take that gas and you really apply, let's say, some heat or some electric fields on it, you can actually rupture the components of the gas so that you have electrons and you have protons, and they can move separately and separately follow different laws. And so you have a mixture of all these particles, not in the forms that we are used to, like in a liquid form, but in these separate entities, and they behave very differently. And actually, speaking of which, most of the universe is in a plasma state. So if you go inside the stars in the interstellar medium, like the parts that are kind of empty, we consider empty out in space, all that is really composed of particles in plasma state.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool sounding. I've heard of plasma before, but I haven't heard like it in depth, like how you described it. So that's cool.
Okay. And most people actually sort of confuse it with plasma, the kind of the liquid that you find in the blood. So, yeah. It is completely different. Yeah.
When did you do the research you participated in?
So I am still, I started doing research as an undergraduate student. So this is, let's see, like 20 something years ago, or almost 30 years ago, right? And then I continued doing research in graduate school when I was getting my PhD as a postdoc after I got my PhD. And now even as I'm working now at university, I'm still doing the research. So it's been different topics, but constantly doing research.
And when you were an undergraduate, how did you get involved in research at the school?
Okay, so there weren't so many summer jobs. Actually, I went to school in Zimbabwe, so we don't have long summer breaks, but our big, I guess it's summer break is because it's summer in the southern hemisphere. So over our summer break, which was from December to March, most students didn't have opportunities for jobs. So we had a visiting professor who came to, he was on sabbatical at our school, and he was looking for assistants to help him with his research. So I applied for that position, and I enjoyed it very much. It was mostly theoretical physics, but it was very enjoyable. So that got me into doing some research. And after that experience, I knew I wanted to go to graduate school and do more things like that.
And that was in Zimbabwe, or was that here?
That was in Zimbabwe, actually.
Zimbabwe. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice to students who are interested in like getting into research or doing research as an undergrad?
Oh, okay. So there are really many opportunities for research. Actually, in my lab that I work at WashU, we actually have every summer we have a couple of high school students come and join us. They're not doing research at a very high level, but they are being involved in some of the big projects that we are doing. So sometimes they write code. We always figure out what they know, and we figure out where our needs intersect with what they know. So my advice is, look for colleges that are close to where you live. If money is an issue and you don't want to have to travel across the country or go to another state, write to the professors and ask if they could take an undergrad student to do some research. And you can put on your resume all the things that you can do. So that's one. Number two is most most colleges have these experiences for research for undergraduate students. So check the colleges that you know, see if they have any research experiences for undergraduate students. Let me drink some water, excuse me. So they are called REUs. So that's a research experience for undergraduates. And a lot of universities now have these programs. They are funded by, I think it's NSF, the National Science Foundation. And so go to websites of schools and check if they have REUs and apply to them. You need to maybe talk to some professors at your school. They might help you identify the colleges, and also they would need to write letters of recommendation for you.
Naja had a very informative interview with Andrea Green, who is a chemical and biomolecular engineer with a lot of research experience under her belt.
So hi, what's your name and what's your major?
My name is Andrea Green, and my major is chemical and biomolecular engineering.
Okay, that's great. So, what made you choose the research opportunity that you participated in?
Well, I participated in a lot of them. So the first one I chose because I was encouraged to get into research, or just to give it a try, and so I trusted the person that encouraged me, and I did so. And then the subsequent experiences that I have were just some were because I really enjoyed research, and others were more directed toward preparing for graduate school.
Okay.
Mhm.
What is one specifically that you would say you learned a lot from?
I would say the research that I'm doing right now, um, which is where I'm looking at the built environment of marginalized communities, trying to understand what about their environment is causing them to have sleep issues.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. When did you start this research?
So I started the preliminary stages in the summer of 2021. And so it's just been ongoing from then.
That's great. What was that criteria for you to be able to join?
So this was not a program. I guess this was more aligned with, it was more by luck that I received a seed grant. So
Yeah.
maybe I can talk more about like a program that I did. So I did a Fulbright Canada experience where I studied arsenic detection methods and the use of applying those methods to cell phone applications. And the criteria for that was you had to have research experience and a good personal statement, a good resume, and I would say maybe like decent grades. I mean, the GPA is really not the big deal. It's just that you have like a good science and math GPA and good grades in those classes.
Mhm.
But yeah, number one would be research experience because once you pass the initial stage of the application process, you get to pick like 7 different labs you want to work in, and so your application is strengthened when you pick opportunities that align with your experience. So like I had water research and water treatment experience at the time, and so I picked all of the projects that dealt with that, and
Okay,
so yeah, so that helped.
that's great. How would you rate like the overall experience of it?
I would say it was really good. I got to work with people that live in Canada, and then a lot of international students, people from like India and China, places like that. And so they really gave me a perspective of how communities work and globally, where I was used to more of like US based projects and US based thinking. I expanded that to be a little bit more inclusive with the way that I thought and the way that I approach research.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you
Mhm.
had good experience from it. One
Thank
final
you.
question is, what advice would you give students who want to go into research?
Well, I would say that one, to kind of be open-minded, I guess, about completing research. Um, a lot of leaders in the field encourage students to get into research, and if you are not aware of like the benefits that it has, then you can sometimes drop the ball and not get involved and or get involved later or not take advantage of every opportunity that the research experience has.
Mhm.
So I would say definitely uh, trust your leaders. They wouldn't give you that advice for no reason. And then once you put everything into your application so that you can have a good chance of getting the research opportunity. And then once you are in that opportunity, make sure that you're taking advantage and actually learning and paying attention, and getting involved in as much as you possibly can while you're there.
Okay. Well, that's great. Thank you for participating in the interview, and I enjoyed learning about your research experience and learning more information in general. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Naja also interviewed Lois, who is an Emory student with research experience in psychology.
Say hi. How are you? You can introduce yourself and what's your major and what do you study?
Okay, hi. My name is Lois, and I'm a senior at Emory University. I'm double majoring in biology and Spanish.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so my first question for you is, what made you choose the research opportunity that you participated in?
So first, I got into research because of there was like an email list serve, like an email list for the biology major at Emory, and they were sending out research opportunities. And at first, I didn't really think that I'd be interested in psychology research, but it was something that was really interesting. And the project that I'm in allows for a lot of creative freedom or a lot of student development. So I really liked that I was able to be able to like have my own project, and now I'm doing the honors thesis as well. So I think it was just being able to interview with the PI and realize that the person who I was interviewing with seemed like a great person, and everyone that I met in the lab was also really nice as well.
Oh, so that's great. That's great to hear you had a good experience from it. Okay, so what did you do in the research program?
Yeah, so I'm in charge of patient interviews. So, like, I interview patients and get their trauma history because the research that I'm in is focusing on PTSD and trauma research. So, I do that, and I'm also in charge of MRI scans, so helping make sure that those run smoothly. There's also some startle experiments where we like put participants in a booth, play like loud noises, turn the lights on and off, and recording their responses to that. Doing other data analysis with the neuroimaging data and MRI scan as well. So, various things in the project.
Oh, so that's great to hear you had you gained so much knowledge from it and probably something that you didn't know you were interested in. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you rate the overall experience?
Yeah, I think as a whole, probably like 8 out of 10. It was definitely some moments where I was just like confused or like not really sure what to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes just like running into like for being in the professional world and having disagreements or sort of not really understanding like the project. But I think after a while, I got a lot more comfortable with the project, and I got more comfortable with having my own thesis and having things that I could be in charge of. And now I'm an intern that's training like other research assistants in the project as well. So I think it was a really good way for me to have like a lot of personal development over the time that I've been involved in research.
Naja also interviews Prosper Amaro, who is a second-year chemistry major with research experience.
Okay, so good morning. What's your major and what year are you currently?
My major is chemistry, and I guess you can say I'm in the second year.
Okay.
Yes.
So what made you choose the research opportunity that you participated in?
It was a job opportunity
Okay.
that was offered to me by the professor
Okay.
under whom I worked,
Okay, that's
and
good.
I had it. The school is a historical school, Tuskegee University,
Yeah.
and I had heard about George Washington Carver, whose lab I was working in. So
Okay.
because he was a historical figure, I
Yeah.
I liked it. So when the job was offered to me, I was interested.
Okay. So what did you do in the research?
It was to research crop yield. So we had several crops. cowpea, corn, and sweet potatoes
Okay.
that we wanted to research on. We were comparing growth under normal natural conditions and then growth using manure. And the manure we decided not to use a fertilizer, artificial fertilizer. So we wanted to use chicken litter, which
Oh,
was organic manure
yeah.
to grow them, and then to check the yield, which of the crops would give the greatest yield, and also compare between just growing the crops naturally
Hmm.
or growing them with manure, which of them gives the greater yield.
Okay. Could you
So
like tell me what's manure?
manure is basically organic material, like what's the name? The waste of animals,
Oh, okay.
like cow waste,
Yeah.
chicken waste, goat waste, all that. You can also make your own manure by um, digging a hole, pouring leftover food, cutting leaves, putting it in there, closing it up, and then allowing that to stay for a while to ferment,
Yeah.
basically. And
Okay.
then you dig that up and spread it on your land. So it basically helps your crops to grow better. That's manure.
Okay. I understand. So, when did you do this research?
That was in 2011.
Oh,
2011.
okay.
Yes.
How long was it?
Oh, it was for a 6-month period,
Okay.
because we had to this was in Alabama, so we had to take advantage of um the weather, which was, the summer,
Yeah.
autumn, summer period,
Yeah.
all the way before, the cold setting.
Oh, okay. So, how would you rate the overall experience?
It The overall experience was great. I got to grow the crops right from the greenhouse, because I did everything. I
Mm,
grew the crops from the greenhouse all the way to transferring them to the field. Well, these were large fields,
yeah.
and I had to do them by myself. So it was a good experience, because um, I was able to also take advantage of determining whether to say, if I wanted to start farming.
Oh,
Um, could I just grow my crops based on the soil that they have at a particular place? Could I grow my crops just like that, or would I need to add something like some manure, fertilizer, or
mm.
something to it? So I was able to learn all those stuff.
Yeah, that's great. So, what advice would you give other students who want to participate in research and like don't know what to expect from it?
The advice I would give is, first, be ready for hard work, because if you go into the agricultural research field, it
Hmm.
mostly requires um, what's the name, hand-on experience. Like, you have to work with your hands. It's
Yeah.
not something you're gonna go sit on a computer and work. Like I explained, I had to grow the crops from the greenhouse. I mean, in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
And then once they grew up, after a few weeks, I had to transfer them to the field and then do my observations. So
Mhm.
you have to be willing to do all that. And then you have to be patient, with the result. You have to be diligent in keeping records, because
Mhm.
without the records, you don't really know what
Mhm.
progress you're making.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's great. So, thank you for participating, and I'm glad you had a good experience from it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Lastly, let's listen to Ashton share her research experience.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ashton Jackson, and I'll be sharing my research experience and sort of how I got the internship. So, as you probably know, one of the spring semester requirements for LSAMP is to apply to at least one summer internship. So, I worked with Dr. Kellett, who's my LSAMP advisor, to craft an application essay and update my resume. She helped me put the things I learned from my lab classes into words as applicable skills to sort of say I might not have done anything official yet, but I have the skills to do it. And then I just started applying. Now, most summer programs are pretty competitive and they tend to favor applicants who've done some sort of summer program before. So don't be too shocked if you don't get selected the first go around. I actually got turned down by all of the internships I applied to, but I was lucky enough to be sent an opportunity to apply for the Georgia Research Alliance Student Scholars Program through LSAMP. So all 15 participants were LSAMP members at their respective universities. You had some from Kennesaw, UGA, Georgia Tech, and Savannah State. Of course, Perimeter College as well, me. And the program was really geared towards helping students get hands-on experience with research, so they could write down that, yes, I have had experience before when they're applying to future programs. So I was placed in Dr. Ted Ross's lab. He works for the Center of Vaccines and Immunology at the University of Georgia. Actually, he used to work there because as of right now, I believe he has moved his lab down to Florida, so he won't be there next time I see him. But anyway, I helped his lab by purifying COVID samples and testing the protein concentration within them, and then aliquoting them into smaller test tubes to be shipped to other research facilities. So most of the skills I needed were taught to me while I was there, such as how to complete a Western blot and a BCA, and those are different tests used to test protein quantity and concentration, as well as how to run an actor purifier, which is this very fancy machine basically giving you the numerical quantities of It's essentially used to get a more precise account compared to a known standard, how close your sample is to it. Sorry if that doesn't make too much sense. So while I was there, I was also able to listen in on presentations by other researchers working at the Ross Labs, like real professionals and such. Some people were working on a universal flu vaccine that accounted for the variations you see each season, so you don't have to go every year to get like another shot. Others were working on updating the COVID vaccines for boosters. For variants, and testing them on mice to see how accurate they were. One lady tried to explain what she was doing to me, but it was just so technical I couldn't really understand what was going on, but it sounded really cool. As a whole, though, it was a great experience, and it really allowed me to get a better understanding of the research field that I just don't think is possible from just sitting in a classroom. So if you get a chance to participate in one, I highly recommend taking it. And feel free to ask your LSAMP advisors for help. That's what they're there for. They have the know-how, the connections to help you put your best self forward and get these opportunities. Like I said, my name is Ashton, and I hope my presentation was beneficial to you. I hope you learned something new, or maybe it sparked a new interest in lab research.
We hope that this information was useful in giving you an idea of what research is like and the various opportunities that are available. Thank you.